Thank you, Clive. Hello, I'm Claire Summers.
What was that you were saying?
BBC Islander this week, but for many Welsh farmers, it's about sitting down and getting a first indication of how much subsidy they'll receive next year.
It's always interesting to find out what you're going to have in it for the bank manager, so you can go and talk to the bank manager and if we're looking to expand in the future. We nearly ended up bang in the same place as we are now.
This new scheme has been years in the making. We'll be joined live by the Cabinet Secretary for Climate Change and Rural Affairs to ask him how he thinks it's been received by farmers and discussing all the big issues on the showground this week.
Also in tonight's programme, Steve Tandy signs a 3-year contract to be Wales's new head coach of the men's side. The Welsh Rugby Union say he's the best man for the job.
He was the standout candidate in terms of his technical understanding, his background, his experience, and then it was an added bonus that he's also Welsh.
Cove Rescue, you all right? Just stay where you are.
And the story of the 2 teenagers who were stranded in a slate mine in Aruri National Park. We'll bring you the details of their dramatic rescue. Hello, good evening. It's the first day of Europe's largest agricultural show, and it's the place where some of the biggest issues facing rural Wales will be discussed this week. New farming subsidies, proposed changes to inheritance tax and blue tongue, just some of the things on the agenda. Let's head live to Llanelwedd now, and our reporter David Grundy is at the Royal Welsh Showground. David.
Well, Claire, as ever, it's been a busy first day here at the Royal Welsh Showground in Llanelwedd. Tens of thousands of people here today and many more thousands expected over the next 4 days, taking in the sights, sounds and smells of the biggest agricultural show in Europe. From cows to sheep to horses and pigs, it's all here, although not from England or Scotland because of restrictions due to their movement due to the outbreak of blue tongue disease. But day one is often dominated by politics and visits by politicians. Today's no different. There's been plenty of discussions around the showground about some of the big issues facing rural Wales. We'll start by looking at that new subsidy scheme for Welsh farmers, which was announced by the Welsh Government last Tuesday. Today, farmers have been able to use a new online tool to help them work out how much subsidies they might be entitled to next year. Let's get more on that now from our environment correspondent, Stefan Messenger.
It's been a landmark week for Welsh farmers as final plans for a major shake-up of their subsidies were revealed, to a mixed response.
I'm very concerned because it's not to line the farmer's pocket, it's not there to buy a new tractor, it's there to help us to keep things cheaper for the housewife. That's why we've always had subsidies, is to keep the price of food down.
And what about the argument that people also might want some of that money to be used to help the environment?
I think the farmers have always looked after the environment.
Here at the show, a first opportunity to work out how much they'd earn under the new system, which is set to start in January.
We nearly ended up bang in the same place as we are now. So I think it's a good opportunity. If everybody had a look what they're claiming, what they got, just pop by and they'll either be happy or disappointed or not. But I think it's nice to know one way or the other, isn't it?
The new payments are designed to encourage a greener way of farming, though wildlife groups worry the scheme's been watered down following farmer protests last year. They want the government to now explain how it will meet targets to halt declines in nature by 2030.
If we stick with the current budget, that's about our work shows about half of what we need to actually support farmers to deliver environmental outcomes. So the money then becomes a real issue here. So it depends on how that money is allocated now over the next sort of 5 years as well.
Farmers packed in to quiz the First Minister, who said the Welsh Government had listened to their concerns, making sure the new scheme worked for the industry as well as the environment.
Where we've got to is a situation where everybody is a little bit happy and everybody's a little bit unhappy. That's probably about the right place. You know, we are talking about £248 million worth of support here. Opposition parties say questions remain.
If you're encouraging a whole industry to move from one regime of support into another, then they need long-term certainty and security that what they're doing actually makes sense for their business.
We still don't know so many of the details around this, including the economic impact assessment. We were calling for that to be published alongside the scheme last week, so we know exactly what impact this will have on rural Wales.
Reform described the new subsidy scheme as disastrous and an attack on farmers. The Welsh Lib Dems say it's important to recognise the pressure farmers have been under for years now, with uncertainty over their future payments. Livestock numbers may be down at this year's show due to fears over the blue tongue virus. The crowds, though, are out in force, as are the politicians, offering competing visions for the future of the Welsh countryside at a time of considerable change.
Well, we're coming to the end of day one here at the Royal Welsh Show today, and some of the stall holders are packing up for the evening. Today, though, we've been hearing that many farm businesses are facing other challenges, including the threat of animal diseases like blue tongue and avian flu. But the farming union NFU Cymru says its biggest concern is the plan to ask farmers to pay inheritance tax on agricultural assets. From next April, the tax will have to be paid on land, buildings, machinery and stock of farms worth more than £1 million. Now, there's disagreement about how many farms will be affected. The UK government says only a small number of farms will be affected, but the NFU Cymru says it'll be many more than that, and its leader has written to Sir Keir Starmer asking him to change the plans, as Craig Duggan now explains.
Tom and Ann Tudor have owned their farm in North Powys since 1968. It's now a 700-acre dairy farm. After losing their son Richard in an accident 5 years ago, they want to pass on the farm to their grandson Morgan. They say that could mean an inheritance tax bill of between £800,000 and £1 million.
You don't know how you're going to face it, and you just hope that it won't happen, that's all, really. But if it does, we'll see a lot of family farms disappear if it happens.
We're proud of the place. We've paid for it all over the years, and you know, it was just something that one could pass on. Having missed a generation, we're so pleased to have the younger generation so keen and ready to farm. And this comes, you know, it just knocks you.
As things stand now, farms and their assets are exempt from inheritance tax, but under UK government plans, that's changing next year. According to UK Treasury figures, for a farm owned by one person who wants to pass their estate onto a child or grandchild, inheritance tax would be payable on estates over £1.5 million. For a farm owned by two people, the tax-free threshold could reach £3 million. The tax rate for farm assets would be 20%, half the normal rate of 40%. NFU Cymru held a seminar to discuss the issue today. The union's president has written to the Prime Minister, calling on the UK government to change the plans.
If the cash is not there from income, it forces business then to sell off assets in order to generate the cash to pay the tax. And that would be devastating for any business. Paying tax on the assets which allows you to generate an income from which you pay taxes, from which you pay employees, the businesses that supply you, that's the only way that you should be taxing in order to pay for public services.
The Treasury says 3/4 of estates will continue to pay no inheritance tax at all, describing the changes as a fair and balanced approach to help fix public services.
I think what we have to remember is that there will still be a much, much larger allowance for them than for other people. You know, £1 million is an allowance to start with. And then, of course, half the rate. Instead of paying 40%, they'll be paying 20% on the rest. And that can be paid over 10 years and is interest-free. So I know it can seem like a big shock, but I think when people sit down and work things out, for many farms, it won't seem half as bad.
On the showground, accountants and solicitors say they've seen a huge increase in calls from farmers about the proposed changes.
Craig Duggan reporting. Now, concerns about the state of our rivers and waterways is something we've discussed a lot on Wales Today, but now a major review published today is proposing a new watchdog to oversee the water industry here. The Independent Water Commission has suggested several changes aimed at better oversight of water companies and more protection for consumers. Here's Nellie Bird with more.
Water surrounds us in Wales and runs through the hearts of our valleys and towns. Today's report outlines big changes for the regulation of this vital resource.
We've got a huge increase in people using rivers for recreational activity, and then that makes people question why are our rivers not in the state that we'd like to see them in, particularly in light of the fact that clearly Wales now has the highest water bill.
The report suggests broad changes but offers some distinct proposals for Wales, including a new and separate regulator which would have better oversight of the two Welsh companies. A review of social tariff schemes in Wales to support people struggling with bills. Mandatory water meters could be introduced, and a proposal to give Welsh bill payers better protection.
Well, it's been a long time coming. Water companies in England and in Wales have too long been underperforming, underserving the people who've been paying their bills, have been polluting our rivers and seas, and generally not delivering value for money for consumers.
There will be bill rises over the next 5 years, but they've already been announced. Today's report aims to secure the industry for the future, so further large rises won't need to happen. The new regulator will also have stronger powers on things like sewage leaks. But there are some concerns about who would be in charge of the new regulator. The Welsh Government will have to decide whether Natural Resources Wales or a new body will take on the role.
This is a really amazing opportunity for us to build on, to move forward and to think differently about how we regulate in the future, to move with the times, to move with the communities and with the people of Wales, to regulate in the way that they want and in the way that the environment needs in the future.
This report promises big changes, but exactly how they'll be implemented in Wales is not yet clear. The Welsh Government says it will review the findings, but says the report offers a once-in-a-generation opportunity to reform the industry. Nellie Bird, BBC Wales Today, at the River Taff in Cardiff.
So lots on the agenda today here at the Royal Welsh Show. I'm joined now by the man whose job it is to oversee the introduction of that new subsidy system, the Climate Change and Rural Affairs Secretary, Hugh Iranca-Davies. Thank you very much for joining us.
Delighted.
Also the Deputy First Minister. You've been speaking to farmers all day. How's the SFS announcement gone down with them?
Do you know, it's landed really well. I'm very heartened. I've had a few people, I got to say, as I've been walking on the showground saying, oh, you pushed this a bit hard there. I've had others saying, you could have gone a bit further. But I think on balance, it's been really well received. And I've heard so many farmers saying, we can work with this now. We can actually make this work. Not just for the farm business, but also that whole farm approach. So, yeah, I'm really pleased.
No, some of them have been telling us they want to see what the economic impact assessment says.
Yeah.
Why haven't you published it?
So we've done the economic modelling and we've done environmental modelling as well. We've also got some more work to do on the value for money case, so for taxpayers. Are they going to get the full value out of this scheme? Not just for viable farm businesses, protection of the Welsh language, we've got a social value payment in this as well, but also climate resilience for farms as well, and nature and habitat. So all of those pieces need to be pulled together. We'll bring it forward in late summer, early autumn. Meanwhile, we've got a ready reckoner down here on the showground. I've seen queues of farmers going through, this isn't too bad for me and my farm. There's the most important bit of economic analysis. What does it mean for me and my farm?
Talking of economics, one of the other things that's coming up that people are concerned about are these proposed changes to inheritance tax. We've seen the emotional impact on farmers in the report from Craig earlier on. Are you going to call on your colleagues in Westminster to have a think about it very carefully?
So we've been very consistent on this, Rob. I've raised it in pretty much every interministerial meeting that I've had with UK ministers, and we've made clear to them that they should not undermine what we're trying to do here in Wales, which is to build a sustainable future for farming in all the senses of that sustainability. And we've written to them 2 or 3 occasions now as well. So I guess my appeal to colleagues in the UK government is, look, it's a reserved matter, UK Treasury decision, but my appeal to them is, look at the arguments being put forward, look at the evidence and consider them properly and diligently. If there's a disagreement, there's a disagreement. But that's my appeal to them as the Welsh Government, Rural Affairs, Agriculture, Climate Ministers, look at the arguments there.
Now, the May elections for the Senedd are approaching. Do you think you'd be sitting here talking to me this time next year?
I really hope so, but it's in the lap of the... No, I was just going to say it's in the lap of the gods, but it isn't. It's in the lap of the electorate. But if the rural communities like what we've been doing and the approach that we've been doing, Eluned and myself, genuinely listening and engaging and collaborating, if they like that, if people like what we've been doing, crikey, on the additional money into potholes, the additional money, the 21st Century Schools programme in Wales over the last few years, then vote for it, because the vote counts, it really matters.
Good to talk to you here, Ivanka Davies, the Deputy First Minister. So, a busy opening day at the Royal Welsh Show. It's not just about politics and policy, so it's a massive social event. Join us again later when we'll be having a look at some of the other things going on here at the Royal Welsh Show in Llanelwedd.
David, thank you very much. See you in a bit. Now to some big rugby news, and you'll be seeing more of this man over the coming years. Steve Tandy has been confirmed as Wales's new head coach. He says it's a massive honour and a privilege. Well, he's left his role as Scotland defence coach and will start with Wales in September. He signed a 3-year deal, which will see him in charge until after the next World Cup. Thomas David has more.
After months of waiting, finally an announcement. Welshman Steve Tandy has been tasked with turning Welsh rugby around and to help the team regain credibility on the world stage. Tandy played at flanker for Neath before making more than 100 appearances for the Ospreys. He then went on to coach the region, winning the Celtic League title in his first season in charge in 2012. There was a role down under too with the Waratahs in Sydney, before he linked up with Scotland as defence coach 6 years ago. And during that time, he was part of Warren Gatland's coaching team with the British and Irish Lions in South Africa. The decision to go for Tandy was overseen by the Welsh Rugby Union's new Director of Rugby.
Fundamentally, Steve is an outstanding coach. He's a relationship builder. And I think collaboration is one of the cornerstones of what we're trying to achieve going forwards in the strategy for Welsh rugby.
And what does success look like? The national side has been on a pretty dismal run. What's the target come the next World Cup?
I don't want to get into sort of setting definitive targets at this stage. I think where we've got to get to next is improved performances. We've got a tough autumn ahead, but some really, really exciting games. That's going to give us brilliant benchmarks in terms of where we might be, come a World Cup in 2027. But there's a long road to travel between now and then.
Tandy's first game in charge will be here against Argentina in November. He arrives with the team in crisis and the future of the 4 professional sides in Wales in doubt. That's because the WRU says it's considering cutting the number of regional sides from 4 to 3 or even 2. The union says the current system is unsustainable and a formal consultation will start in the middle of next month.
The analysis that we'll put in the consultation is there's trade-offs in all the different models. So, one of the options is to keep 4 but fund them differently. Another option is to go to 3, or you could fund them differently again. You could have a 3 on equal funding or a 2+1. Other option is to go to 2. I think they've all got trade-offs. I think from a performance level, you can make 2 work.
In their last game, it was relief all round. After suffering a record run of 18 straight test defeats, a victory at last for Wales over Japan earlier this month. Tandy says he's looking forward to helping rebuild Welsh rugby. He'll have his work cut out.
And Thomas is here now. Well, hopefully some stability for rugby tonight.
Yes, 5 long months after Warren Gatland resigned, we have a successor. I think it's fair to say that he has improved Scotland's defence in his time there. He has some experience on the international stage, but he's never had the top job, a head coach role in Test rugby. In his in-tray, he'll have to sort out his backroom staff. There's a suggestion there could be an element of continuity there with Matt Sherratt, who has been in interim charge, being given a role in his staff. As for expectations, well, they're pretty low among the fans. Wales dropped to a record low of 14th in the world recently. They're back to 12th in the world, but that's still a world away from competing in the top 5 consistently, which is a goal of the Welsh Rugby Union by 2029.
And of course, still lots of questions to be answered.
Yes, Steve Tandy arrives with the game in flux in Wales. Abby Tierney said that they tested him on his view about what should change, and his view is in line with their view. That's what she said. But I think patience will be needed. Welsh rugby is at rock bottom, and it's worth remembering that some players in this squad have never experienced a victory on the pitch in a Wales shirt, so patience will be needed with a tough autumn series to come.
Thomas, thank you very much. Now, at the start of the school summer holidays, rescuers in North Wales are urging people to plan their adventures as they brace themselves for an influx of visitors. The BBC Wales series SOS Extreme Rescues has been following them over the last year, including when 2 teenagers from Essex became stranded in a slate mine in Eryri National Park. Now, one of their mums, who was an experienced climber and caver, had to find her way out to raise the alarm. George Hurd has the story.
Police emergency. I've gone down an underground quarry and my son there's a boat and basically the whole thing's just sunk.
This is the 999 call made by worried mother Kate from Southend-on-Sea in Essex. She's a very experienced climber, caver and all-round outdoor adventurer. Last September, she took her 15-year-old son Dragon and his friend Josh out to the Eryri National Park with a plan to tackle a series of underground slate mines near Blaenau Festiniog.
I have always been interested in the mountains and trying to get really good experiences with my children.
The journey through the cave system was going well until they came to a deep lake they had to cross.
There was just a rope that was hanging in the water. So me and Josh started pulling this rope and there was a canoe on the end of this rope. It was just insane.
Mum Kate and friend Josh made it safely across, but then things got tricky for Dragon.
I just stood on the wrong spot, just sunk.
It was at that point that I knew that I needed to go and get help. That was one of the most difficult decisions I probably have made, I would say, in my lifetime. I knew how scary that was going to be for them.
It took Kate more than 2 hours to get out and make that 999 call, with teams from Aberglaslyn Mountain Rescue and the North Wales Cave Rescue Organisation swinging into action, finally locating the 2 teens safe and well. For the rescue teams, they say it's a timely reminder to be prepared, whether you're above or below ground.
You've planned your vehicle, how much petrol you've got in your vehicle to get to North Wales. What route you're taking to North Wales is no different when you come and you set foot on the mountains of North Wales. Things can go wrong. Hopefully, cross fingers, it doesn't. But if you've planned, then it's half the battle is won.
Rescuers hope adventurers heading out over the summer holidays will heed the advice to help the under-pressure volunteer teams who do turn out when things go wrong.
And you can watch that episode of SOS Extreme Rescues here on BBC One Wales straight after this programme. You can find all the episodes now on the iPlayer. Right, let's head back to David now at the Royal Welsh Show. David?
Well, Claire, the Royal Welsh Show is somewhere we can see a little bit of everything, a real glimpse into rural life, from super-fast sheep shearing to sheepdog trials and numerous breeds like Welsh Blacks, Herefords and Limousins in the cattle ring. You also see some gorgeous old tractors like these behind me. We also had an incredible display today from the Ukrainian Cossacks stunt team, hurtling around the ring on the backs of horses, doing all sorts of stunts that, well, they were brave, put it that way. We also had an amazing flight past today from the RAF, in which the RAF Falcons parachute team jumped out of the plane and parachuted into the main ring. Some pretty incredible stuff today. There's also been a royal visitor. Her Royal Highness Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, arrived by helicopter before touring the showground today and meeting the great and the good. It's her 7th visit, and of course we know she's got a great interest in horses, being a European champion and an Olympian. So a busy opening day. I'm glad to say I'm joined again now by environment correspondent Stefan Messenger. Steph, so many big issues swirling around the showground today and the effect that they're having on the farming community here in Wales. Issues which are life-changing for their businesses. What's the general feeling amongst farmers here today?
Well, do you know, we've been up and down those cattle and sheep lines so often over the last couple of days and speaking to farmers about a range of issues, as you say. There's that big shake-up to their subsidies, there's the concerns over blue tongue, there's the controversy over inheritance tax. So, and they also point to other pressures too. And we've heard repeatedly about the cumulative impact all of that's having on how they're feeling. It is a time of real change, the biggest shift in agricultural policy in a generation. There's also changing expectations, the ask of them to do more to tackle climate change and nature loss, which is obviously also a huge threat to their own businesses. So a lot going on, and it's why we're seeing so many politicians here really courting the industry this week. But also don't forget that for many of the people here, this is their one big holiday of the year. So there's an element of wanting to put that aside for a few days now and just enjoy what's an Llanelwedd has to offer.
Steph, thanks very much. Almost day one over for you now. A few more days to go. An interesting day here in Llanelwedd weather-wise. It's been sunny and cloudy, popping in and out of the cattle sheds to keep dry during the showers. How are things looking for the rest of the week? Here's a man who knows. Derek, how's the weather looking?
Thanks very much, David. Well, I'm sitting on a vintage tractor. This is a Massey Ferguson 35. It was built in 1961. It's been rebuilt and is now used daily on a working farm in Abergele, particularly during the lambing season. Now, as David said, it's been mixed here today. We've had a few showers this afternoon, but on the whole, a lot of dry weather. Now, if you're coming to the show tomorrow, it looks like starting off cloudy and damp in the morning, but as we go through the day, it should turn drier. We might see a glimpse of sunshine later, the high around 18 Celsius with just a light breeze. Now, across the whole country tonight, there will be plenty of cloud, some outbreaks of rain and drizzle spreading their way eastwards overnight, tending to ease off later in the night, and it will be a mild night, lowest temperatures around 13 to 15 Celsius. Now, tomorrow's chart shows low pressure near the north of Scotland, a weather front lying through Scotland and England, gradually moving eastwards. So tomorrow then, a cloudy and damp start, some mist, hill fog, patches of light rain and drizzle. But as we go through the day, it should turn drier. Still plenty of cloud around in the afternoon. Wouldn't rule out the odd shower. And we should see a few glimpses of sunshine breaking through. Highs tomorrow around 17 in Fishguard, 20 in Welshpool, up to 22 in Monmouth with a light to moderate west to northwesterly breeze. And then tomorrow night, variable clouds, some clearer spells, still the chance of the odd shower. May turn a bit misty in places, and slightly cooler tomorrow night with lows of 11 to 14 Celsius. And then for Wednesday, a mixture of cloud, some sunny spells, still a few showers about, but some dry weather as well. Highs of 17 in Bangor and up to 22 in Cardiff. Thursday and Friday, mostly dry, some sunny spells, and a little bit warmer on Friday with a high of 24 in Newport. Well, that's it from me at the Royal Welsh Show. I'll be back tomorrow. The weather will start off a bit damp, but turning drier through the day. David.
Derek, thank you very much. That's it on day one of the Royal Welsh Show. Tomorrow on Wales Today, we're going to be talking about the impact of blue tongue and what farmers think of the efforts to stop its spread here in Wales. That's our BBC Wales Today, tomorrow night here from the Royal Welsh Show in Llanelwedd. But now, though, it's back to Claire in Cardiff.
David, thank you very much. And just that one other headline for you tonight. The Welsh Rugby Union have named Steve Tandy as the new head coach of the men's national team. That is all from now. I'll be back with an update for you after the 10 o'clock news. But that is Wales Today from me here and all of us in Llanelwedd. Thanks for watching. Good night.